His work as an artist fits as comfortably in the kitchens of American homes as it does in galleries and on buildings around the world. This grandson of a blacksmith and son of a mechanic battled learning disabilities to achieve national fame. She was an artist at the dawn of fiber art innovations, this daughter of Czechoslovakian immigrant parents, her father a renowned painter and teacher of art. Together, they built a reputation as craftsmen, artists, teachers, mentors, and the owners of one of the nation's most highly regarded showplaces of American craft. Don Drumm was born in Warren, Ohio in 1935, during the height of the Great Depression. His father completed only the 8th grade, but was a brilliant mechanic who could make and fix anything with a motor and mechanical parts. Their home had a livery stable where the family kept a pony and other animals. With hopes of becoming a veterinarian, Don Drumm began the study of medicine at Hiram College, until a class on calculus stopped him cold. He discovered the art department, and a caring teacher discovered his real talents, wanting more for this young artist. Don received 2 degrees from Kent State University, even though he struggled with reading, writing, and mathematics. He dictated his thesis to a typist and had a photographer shoot pictures of his hands in the process of casting metal. Don became employed by an Akron industrial design firm that made arrangements with a neighboring business for Don to use their foundry. A Goodyear retiree accustomed to casting molds for tires mentored Don in casting aluminum. Here, Don developed his unique expertise, applying industrial materials and factory methods to forging pieces of art. His work has been described as infused with lightness, contrasting the industrial aluminum, steel, and sandblasted cement with the monumental works of art he creates. In 1960, the design firm eliminated Don's position, the same month that he and Lisa were to be married. Lisa Plavkin was a fiber artist whose father Joseph was so highly regarded that his paintings remain on display in the Art Museum of Erie, Pennsylvania. Lisa received her bachelor's degree from Ohio Wesleyan and came to Akron to teach art at Rankin Elementary, Perkins Middle School, and Buchtel High School. In 1960, she had a job, and Don did not. Lisa gave Don the time he needed to figure out how to make art his career. Don opened his own studio, paying $25 a month to share the foundry at Thor Mold, whose primary work was the tire business. He completed an obligation to the Army Reserves and in 1965 moved his foundry to a new location under the North Hill Viaduct, a studio that didn't even have running water. Here he experimented with giant open-faced molds, a form of casting that he developed, exposing the surface of the artwork against the sand. He was then, and is today, one of a few artists to do large sculptural pieces in cast aluminum. Don's groundbreaking work raised the profile of cast aluminum as an art form. After just 5 years, Don was evicted by the city of Akron as planning began for a new span across the little Cuyahoga River Valley. In 1965, he'd become artist-in-residence at Bowling Green University. He created sculptures for the campus and took on the monumental job of sandblasting the 10-story facade of the university library. He was commuting between home and Bowling Green every week. It was during this time that 3 daughters were born to Don and Lisa: Elisa, born in 1961, Tamula 3 years later, and Leandra in 1968. Akron Public Schools would not employ a pregnant woman as a teacher, so Lisa had to quit her job 3 times. As the children grew, Lisa taught art at Old Trail School, where all 3 daughters attended. In 1970, he and Lisa bought an old bread company horse stable on Krause Street, one of the few places where the city would let him put a foundry. Don and Lisa were spending summers with the children in the mountains of North Carolina, which cradled the Penland School of Crafts. Lisa taught fiber arts, and Don taught sculpting, welding, and casting. It was here that Don first heard the word dyslexic, from the wife of Penland's director who taught children with learning disabilities. Don finally had a name for what he had experienced since childhood. On May 4, 1970, National Guardsmen fired on students at Kent State University. A .30 caliber bullet hit the 15-foot-tall Corten sculpture, a series of half-inch thick steel plates that Don had installed as Sun Totem No. 1 on the campus in 1967. Today it remains its own memorial. When Don moved his foundry and studio to Crouse Street, he dedicated space to be used as a gallery, which Lisa opened in 1971. She gave up her teaching job at Old Trail to manage the business full-time, and as manager, she navigated the obstacles that were constantly placed in front of her because she was a woman in business. When the macrame craze hit in the 1960s, Lisa had contributed to books on fiber art. She gave up her art to create one of America's finest galleries, starting with a network of craftsmen they had met at Penland. Don Drumm traveled the hemisphere to install work around the United States and even the American Embassy in Honduras. His smaller works have been presented to heads of state in Europe, Israel, China, and Africa. In Akron, his works are part of the fabric of the city, from Cascade Plaza to the Akron Zoo, to the brushed aluminum sun and moon watching over the main library, to the garden of fantasy that inspires healing inside Summa Health System's Cancer Center. Don Drumm was the first recipient of the American Institute of Architects Artist and Craftsman Excellence Award. As he has spent years creating art for public places, Lisa built the family name into one that is synonymous with beautiful and functional art pieces for the home and office. That gallery now has 8 buildings and space to show over 500 artists. The Don Drumm Gallery has been listed multiple times among the top 100 retailers of American crafts. Their daughters grew up in the gallery and show work of their own. Elisa Drumm Van Auken creates wood pieces with bright colors and patterns, and whimsical figures decorate Leandra's artwork, whirligigs, and a pewter menagerie of animals. Tamila heads the Chinese language section at St. Vincent St. Mary High School in Akron. Best known for his wise sons with all-knowing faces cast in aluminum, Don Drumm appeals to a broad range of interests. Huge commissioned sculptures to functional cookware and serving dishes. Fun things that show his sense of humor, and serious art in houses of worship. And works that inspire the healing arts in hospitals. At age 80, he continues experimenting and constantly creating. Lisa Drumm says Don doesn't stop, he's a design machine. And Lisa Drumm has been the engineer who has guided that machine to international celebrity and worldwide